Welcome to Fear and Fiction, where the stories are strange and the fear is real. What's going on, Fear and Fiction family? Thank you for being here. I got a couple scary stories for you to check out. Please let me know how you feel about it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. My great-grandmother had a problem. She collected porcelain dolls, not one or two, a whole bookcase full of them, floor to ceiling, going back to the 1800s. Some of them had wind-up knobs so they would sing. I'm talking Victorian-era porcelain faces, glass eyes, little ringlet curls. The kind of doll that even in daylight, you do not want to look at directly. I hated going to her house. I hated walking past that bookcase. I would take the long way through the kitchen just to avoid it. And every single time without fail, no matter which angle I came from, I felt like every single one of those dolls was tracking me. When I was little, I convinced myself it was just the way the glass eyes were painted. Just an optical illusion, a trick of the light. I told myself that so many times that by the time I was a teenager, I almost believed it. Then came Christmas. My great-grandmother gave me and my sister each a porcelain doll as a gift. Not old ones, newer ones, but still porcelain, still with the glass eyes, still with the whole unsettling energy of something that looks too much like a person and not enough like anything alive. My sister and I opened them at the same time, and I watched her face do exactly what my face was doing, which was a very careful smile that did not reach the eyes. On the ride home, I told my sister she could have mine, put it on her bookshelf where it would be safer than in my room, which we both knew was complete nonsense. I just did not want that thing anywhere near me while I was sleeping. My sister took both dolls to her room. That lasted 1 week. She came to me 7 days later and said the doll kept watching her. Not that she felt like it was watching her, that it was watching her. She said she would catch it in her peripheral vision, and when she looked directly at it, its head position seemed slightly different from where it had been. She could not prove it. She did not need to. I knew exactly what she meant, and I told her to get it out of my room. So she moved it to our older brother's room while he was at school. He came home, saw it, and within 48 hours, he was at my door holding it at arm's length, saying absolutely not. He would not even explain himself. Just, absolutely not. Take it. It ended up in my room, not because I wanted it there, because I was the last option and nobody else would have it. I put it on the dresser facing the wall. I figured if it could not see me, we had a deal. I was gone most of the day, and I mostly did not think about it. For about a month, this arrangement worked fine. I avoided looking at it. It sat on the dresser. Everybody was getting along. Then came the Saturday afternoon that ended all of that. I was on my bed doing homework, back against the headboard, facing the dresser, radio on low. The doll was on the dresser facing the wall the way I had left it, which meant its back was to me. I was halfway through an essay, minding my business, when I caught movement in my peripheral vision. I did not look up right away. I kept my eyes on the paper, but I angled my head just slightly so I could see the dresser without looking directly at it. The way you watch something you are not sure you are seeing. The glass eyes on that doll shifted, not the head, just the eyes, rotated in the sockets, slowly, deliberately, until they were looking straight at me. I want to tell you I screamed, or jumped, or did something dramatic. I did not. I set my pencil down. I put my notebook aside. I stood up from the bed with the specific, careful energy of someone who is not going to make any sudden movements. I walked to the closet to get my shoes, keeping the doll in my peripheral vision the whole time. Its eyes followed me. Every step I took, those glass eyes tracked me across the room. I made it to the bedroom door. Then I ran. I went to my sister's room, closed the door, sat on the floor, with my back against it, did not go back into my room that night. That evening, I gave the doll to my little brother. He was 7. I told him it was a gift. I feel bad about that now. I feel bad about it every time I think about it, which is every time someone mentions porcelain dolls, which is less often than you would think, but more often than I would like. My little brother is 23 years old now. He sleeps with the blanket wrapped around him from head to toe like a mummy, has done it since he was 7. He does not talk about the doll. We do not ask. I will never buy my children a porcelain doll. Not ever. Not even a cute one. Not even as a joke. The answer is no. Some gifts are not gifts. Some things that look like people are not people. And some eyes, when they find you in a room, do not let you go until you leave. I left. I stopped using the bathroom mirror when I was 14 years old, and I did not start again until we moved out 2 years later. That probably sounds extreme. Let me explain what I saw, and you can tell me what you would have done. We lived in the third floor unit of a building in the projects, four of us in a two-bedroom, which was tight, but it was what we had, and my mother kept it clean, and that was that. The bathroom was at the end of the hall. Standard setup: sink, toilet, tub, and a big rectangular mirror mounted above the sink that had come with the unit. We did not bring it. It was already there when we moved in. The first time it happened, I was brushing my teeth before school. Early morning, maybe 6:30. I was looking at myself in the mirror, half asleep, not thinking about anything, and I noticed the door behind me was open a crack. I had closed it. I always close the door when I use the bathroom. But what bothered me was not that the door was open. It was the shadow in the gap. Something was standing on the other side of the door. I could see the outline in the mirror, tall, still, just standing there in the hallway in the dark, looking in through the crack. I spun around. The door was closed, completely closed. No gap, no shadow, nothing. I stood there with my heart going and told myself I had imagined it. I was tired. It was early. I went to school and I did not think about it for the rest of the day. It happened again 4 days later. Same time, same situation. Me at the sink in the morning. This time the door was definitely closed. But in the mirror, behind me, there was a woman standing against the wall on the left side of the bathroom. Just standing there, hands at her sides, looking at the back of my head. I turned around so fast I knocked my toothbrush off the sink. Nothing. Empty bathroom. I was alone. Here's what scared me more than seeing her. When I turned back to the mirror, before I looked at my own reflection, I looked at the spot where she had been standing. The wall behind me in the mirror was empty, but the air in that corner of the room felt different, heavier, the way a room feels when someone has just left it. I did not tell anyone. I was 14, and I did not have the words for it, and I did not think anyone would believe me. It kept happening, not every day, maybe twice a week, sometimes more, always in the mirror, always someone standing behind me who was not there when I turned around, always different, a man in a doorway, a child sitting on the edge of the tub, an old woman right up close, face almost at my shoulder, looking at my reflection with an expression I still cannot describe. Every time I turned around, nothing. I started brushing my teeth with my eyes closed. I started using the bathroom as fast as I possibly could. Lights on, door open, get in and get out. My mother noticed I stopped taking long showers. I told her the hot water was not hitting right. She called the maintenance line. They came, said everything was fine. The last time I used that mirror was a Thursday night, about 8 months after it started. I was washing my face. Late, almost 11. Everybody else was asleep. I was tired enough that my guard was down, and I looked up at my own reflection without thinking about it first. There was someone standing behind me. I almost did the thing I always did, almost turned around, and then I stopped, because this time was different. This time I recognized the person. It was my uncle, my mother's brother. He had been in and out of our lives my whole childhood. Last time I had seen him, he was standing in this same apartment, in this same hallway, arguing with my mother about money. That was 3 years before. He had died 8 months ago, right around the time the mirror started. He was standing in the mirror looking at me with an expression I had never seen on his face when he was alive. Calm, just calm, and a little sad. I turned around. The hallway was empty. I went to my room. I got in bed. I lay there in the dark for a long time, thinking about what I had just seen and what it meant that the mirror had been showing me strangers for 8 months, and then finally, at the end, showed me someone I knew. I never went back to that mirror. We moved out the following spring. I do not know who lives in that unit now. I do not know if they use the mirror. I do not know what they see when they look into it. What I know is that whatever that mirror was showing me, it saved the familiar face for last, like it was working up to something, like the strangers were just the introduction and my uncle was the point. I still do not know what the point was, and I am not sure I want to. When I moved into the new unit, the clock on the wall stopped every night at 12 minutes past 2 in the morning. Not every few nights, not sometimes. Every single night, 12 minutes past 2. I would come out in the morning and it would be frozen there, hands perfectly still, and I would reach up and push the minute hand forward and it would start running again like nothing had happened. I have 3 kids. My oldest was 11 at the time, and my youngest was 4. I was working 2 jobs, and I was tired in a way that does not fully go away with sleep. So for the first couple of weeks, I assumed the battery was dying. That is the reasonable explanation for a clock that stops. I changed the battery. Next morning, 12 minutes past 2. I changed it again with a different brand. 12 minutes past 2. I took the clock down and put it in the closet and went to the dollar store and bought a new one. Hung the new one on the same nail. Different clock, same wall. 3 nights later, I came out in the morning and the new clock said 12 minutes past 2. That is when I stopped assuming it was the battery. I am not a superstitious woman. I was raised in the church, but I am practical first. I believe what I can see and touch and explain. So instead of going to the spiritual explanation, I went to the logical one, which was that there was something wrong with the electrical in that section of wall. Some kind of interference. Apartments in the projects are old. Wiring does all kinds of things. I called maintenance. They sent someone. He looked at the wall, said the wiring was fine, wrote something on his clipboard and left. That night, the clock stopped at 12 minutes past 2. This went on for 3 months. My neighbor across the hall was a woman named Miss Celestine. She had been in the building for 11 years. She was the kind of neighbor who knew everything about everyone without being nosy about it, the kind that just absorbs the building's history by being present long enough. Her door was always cracked. She always had something on the stove. One afternoon, I was in the hall with my kids, and she came to her door and asked how I was settling in. We talked for a while, just regular neighbor conversation, and at some point I mentioned the clock. I said it like a joke almost, like, can you believe this thing? Stops at the same time every night. Miss Celestine's face changed, not dramatically, just a small shift, the way a face shifts when someone hears something they already know. She looked at me for a moment and she said, "What time does it stop?" I told her, 12 minutes past 2 in the morning. She nodded slowly. She said, "That makes sense." I asked her what she meant. She leaned against her doorframe and told me that a man had lived in my unit before me. Older man, lived alone, had been in the building for a long time. He died in the unit, natural causes, in his sleep. Nobody found him right away. I asked her what time. She said the paramedics put the time of death at approximately 2 in the morning. She said she had heard that from the building manager at the time, because she had been the one to call it in when he did not collect his mail for 3 days. I stood in that hallway for a moment. 12 minutes past 2. Miss Celestine said, "Some people think that when someone dies in a place, sometimes the place remembers the moment, like something in the room holds on to it." I did not say anything. She said, "I would not take the clock down if I were you. Might be better to let it do what it does." I did not take the clock down. I stopped pushing the minute hand forward in the mornings. I let it sit at 12 minutes past 2 until it decided on its own to start moving again, which it always did by mid-morning. We lived in that unit for 2 more years. The clock stopped every night at the same time for every one of those nights, without a single exception. I got used to it the way you get used to things when you do not have the option of not getting used to them. My kids never knew. I never told them what Miss Celestine told me. But sometimes late at night, when the apartment was quiet and everyone was asleep, I would lie in my bed and think about the man who died in this unit, about how he had lived in these rooms for years and then died in them alone. And then, whatever remained of him apparently held on to the moment of it so firmly that 2 clocks and 3 batteries could not shake it loose. I think about what it would take to leave that kind of mark on a place, what you would have to feel in that moment, how alone you would have to be. I hope someone found him before 3 days. I hope the last thing he felt was not the silence of a building going to sleep around him, but the clock said what the clock said every night, 12 minutes past 2. There was a photograph on the living room wall of every apartment we ever lived in. Same photo, same frame, moved with us every time. It was a family picture from a cookout we had when I was about 5 years old. 8 people total. My mother, my aunt, my uncle, my 2 cousins, my brother Marcus, me, and my father before he left. We are all standing in somebody's backyard, squinting into the sun, most of us mid-laugh because someone said something right before the picture was taken. It was a good photo, the kind of family photo that does not happen on purpose. My mother hung it in every living room we had, from the time I can remember until I was out of the house. It was just part of wherever we lived, the way certain things just become part of a home. I was 16 the first time I noticed something wrong with it. I was home alone on a weekday, out of school sick, lying on the couch watching television. I had been staring at the wall without really looking at it, the way you do when you are half asleep. And when my eyes focused, I was looking at the photograph. My cousin Darius's face was dark, not the whole photo, just his face, like a shadow had settled over him specifically and nobody else. Everyone else in the photo was normal, lit the same way they always were, mid-laugh in that backyard sun. But Darius looked like someone had put their thumb over just that part of the image. I sat up. I looked at it straight on for a while. Then I got up and went over to it and looked at it up close. Up close it was the same. His face was darkened, not smudged, not water damaged, darkened, the way a face goes dark when something passes between it and the light. 2 days later, Darius was in a car accident. He was okay, mostly, banged up, shaken, missing some work. But it was serious enough that when I thought back to the photograph, a cold feeling settled into my chest that did not fully go away. I told my mother. She looked at the photo. By then, Darius's face was normal again, lit the same as everyone else, mid-laugh in the sun. My mother said I had probably imagined it. She said I had been sick and feverish, and light plays tricks. I let her tell me that. I wanted to believe it. But I started watching the photograph after that. Not obsessively, just the way you watch something you are not sure about. A glance when I walked through the living room. A look before I went to bed. 3 months later, my uncle's face went dark. He had a stroke the following week. He survived, but it changed him. I stopped telling my mother. There was nothing to say that would help and nothing she could do. What do you do with information like that? You cannot call every person in a photograph and say, your face went dark, be careful. You cannot explain it. You cannot prove it. But I watched. I watched that photograph for 2 years. I saw it happen 4 times total. Each time, one face. Each time, something happened to that person within days. Car accident, stroke, a fall, a health scare that turned out okay but in the moment was not okay. The 4th time, it was my brother Marcus. I saw it on a Thursday night. I was passing through the living room to get some water, not even really looking at the wall, and I glanced up and Marcus's face was dark. I stood there for a long time. I thought about calling him. I had his number. I could have called him right then, at 11 at night, and said, Marcus, stay in tomorrow. Do not go outside. Something is wrong. I can feel it. But I did not know how to say it. I did not know how to be the person who calls her brother at 11 at night and tells him a photograph told her he was in danger. I was afraid he would think I was losing my mind. I was afraid he would laugh. I was afraid of what it would mean to say it out loud. So I went to bed. Marcus was shot the next afternoon. He lived. He spent 11 days in the hospital and he came home and he recovered and he is alive right now and I am grateful for that every single day. But I have never forgiven myself for not calling him because I knew the way. You know when you have watched something happen 4 times and the pattern is clear. I knew. And I went to bed anyway because I was afraid of what people would think. I took the photograph down the day my brother came home from the hospital. My mother asked why. I told her I just needed a change. She put it in a box somewhere. I have not seen it since, and I do not want to. Some things are trying to tell you something. Some things have been trying to tell you for years. The question is not whether you believe them. The question is whether you are brave enough to act on what they are saying. I was not. I wish every day that I had been. Every black family I know has a Bible on the shelf. Not a decorative one, a real one. Thick, worn down at the spine, somebody's name written inside the front cover in handwriting from decades ago. Our family's Bible was my grandfather's. He had carried it from Mississippi to Chicago when he came north, and when he died, it stayed on the shelf in the front room the way it had always been, between a glass figurine and an old radio that did not work anymore. Nobody read it regularly. Nobody moved it. It was just there, the way some things in a house are just there, holding the room together without anyone being able to explain exactly how. I was 22 when I moved into my own place for the first time. Small apartment, second floor of a two-flat in our neighborhood. My mother insisted I take the Bible with me. She said a man living alone needs it more than a shelf does. I put it on my nightstand because that is where she told me to put it, and I was not going to argue with my mother about Bible placement. I had been in the apartment for about 3 weeks when I woke up in the middle of the night and it was open. I had not opened it. I did not read it before bed. I kept it closed on the nightstand, and that was the arrangement. But at 2 in the morning, I reached over to turn off the lamp I had fallen asleep with, and the Bible was open, pages spread flat, sitting there under the light. I figured I had knocked it somehow in my sleep. Rolled over, hit the nightstand. It fell open, reasonable. I closed it and went back to sleep. It happened again 2 nights later. Same situation. 2 in the morning, lamp still on, Bible open on the nightstand. This time, I looked at the page before I closed it. I do not remember which book it was. Just a page of text. I closed it and went back to sleep and told myself I needed to put it somewhere I could not reach in my sleep. I moved it to the dresser across the room. 4 nights after that, I woke up and it was open on the dresser. I had not gotten up in the night. I was certain of that. I sleep hard and I wake up slow, and I would have known if I had crossed the room. But I still was not scared. I was confused. There's a difference. I did not have enough information yet to be scared. I started paying attention to which page it opened to. I had my phone, so I started taking pictures every morning when I woke up and found it open. Sometimes it was closed. Most nights it was open. I photographed the page each time and then closed it. After 2 weeks, I looked back through my photos and I realized it was always the same section. Not the exact same page every time, but the same general section of the Bible, over and over, the same book, moving a few pages forward or back, but always in the same territory. I looked up what book it was. It was the book of Job. For those who do not know, Job is the story of a man that God allows to be tested. Everything is taken from him: his health, his family, his security, everything. The whole book is him suffering and trying to understand why and not getting a clear answer. It is not a comforting section of the Bible. It is one of the hardest books in the whole thing. I sat with that for a minute. Then I called my mother. I told her about the Bible opening at night. She got very quiet. I asked her what was wrong. She said, "What section is it opening to?" I told her Job. The phone was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Your grandfather used to open it to Job every night before he went to sleep, for the last 20 years of his life." She said he told her once that Job was the only man in the Bible who asked God the same questions he had and did not get a straight answer. He said that was the most honest book in the whole thing. I did not say anything. She said, "That is your grandfather checking in on you. That is what that is. Now here's where I need you to understand something." Up to this point, I could have explained everything away. Sleep, coincidence, drafts, whatever. Reasonable explanations. I was still holding on to reasonable explanations. But the next night I did something I had not done before. Instead of going to sleep, I sat up in bed in the dark and I waited. I waited for a long time, maybe an hour. The room was completely quiet. No window open, no fan running, nothing moving. I watched the Bible on the dresser across the room and I did not take my eyes off it. At some point, the pages moved. No breeze, no vibration. The pages lifted and turned slowly, one at a time, the way pages turn when someone is reading and slides a finger underneath to find the next one. Deliberately, carefully. 3 pages turned and then it stopped. I sat in that bed and I did not move for a long time. Then I got up. I walked across the room. I looked at the page it had stopped on. Job, chapter 1, verse 21. I had to look it up on my phone to read it in the dark. It said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." I stood there in my dark apartment at whatever hour it was, and I read that verse. And I thought about my grandfather carrying that Bible from Mississippi, about everything he had seen in his life, and everything he had lost, and everything he had held on to anyway. About 20 years of opening to the same book every night before sleep. I put the Bible back on the nightstand. I have not moved it since. Some nights I wake up and it is open. Some nights it is closed. I stop photographing the pages because I already know what section it will be in and I already know what he is trying to say. He gave me the Bible. He is reading it with me. That is all. If you made it this far, I want to thank you. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Get in those comments and tell me what your favorite story is. Thank you for watching.